Hey guys, just some thoughts on the notion of what is an ego. There's a lot of talk in spiritual circles and such about ego, dropping the ego trap, the ego this, ego that. There's so much confusion. There's a very simple way that I can explain it to you. It's by no genius of mine. Like most things, it came to me in a dream or dreamlike state. And the reality of the ego is such that it can be compared to having to your house, to your home, right? You have a home and it has purpose. It's extremely useful. It provides you with comfort, with a place for relaxation, perhaps even work. It provides you protection against the the elements, really, and along with many other good, positive features. That's your house. That's your home, right? And that's like the ego. It's like a home. The problem is when people start to think that their home is all there is, right? Of course, that's not true. The rest of the world, all of the world, except for that little structure that we call home, is not your ego. It's the world. It's that which is outside your control. It's that which is beyond your ego. But your ego itself, their house also, is built in that same world. In other words, your house, your home, belongs to that bigger world. So in spiritual terms, in Hinduism, for instance, they say Atman is Brahman, meaning your soul is the great soul. Your self is the great self. And that's the same as saying your home is in the cosmos. Your ego is in the spirit. It's in the spirit of the world. So, of course, make good use of your home. You know, decorate it, invite people to it, right? But don't think that all you are is your home. You're of course a lot more than your home. You're not just the things that are in your home, not even the things that are outside your home. Right? Nobody in their right mind says, I am my home. What are you trying to say? Are you bricks and mortar and concrete? No, you're not. Right? So you're not just your ego. But your ego is very useful. So it's important to make that distinction because we can get confused, right? Not having a home can be a very stressful experience. Majority of people in this world, when they don't have a home, they are considered homeless. Sorry. Right? And it's not a positive thing. Although there's this very small minority that are technically without a home, like in this just traditional sense, but they're the yogis, the mystics. Because they've really come to terms with the fact that the universe, the things outside the walls, are also their home. Now, building the walls and the roof is useful. Kind of puts the little bit of a space and puts you in a little, gives you comfort. Really being the kind of thing that we are. I mean, we are the universe becoming aware of itself. Yeah, that's a stressful experience. I mean, we all know that. I mean, even if you're not fully awake, if you're semi-awake, or even if you're semi-awake, sometimes you freak out. People freak out, and it's not really their fault. It's that crazy. When the address of your home, the address of your ego, is the crossroads between infinity and eternity. If I was to where have you built this home? Where is this ego of yours? It's on the crossroads of eternity and infinity. So it's a freaky experience, okay? So it's not really a human being's fault. So that's why we talk about compassion. the brotherhood, but also with different religions, right? And I think the whole idea, the deeper idea of all religions, you know, of course, that's not how usually religions play out to be, unfortunately. But I think the deeper idea behind all religions is really that, is to get people to be okay with the notion of all that there is, that their home is in the middle of eternity infinity, and yet keep a certain amount of calm and peace. And that's the practice of a religious, truly religious person, I think, is that they can keep peace in the midst of chaos in which they're thrown, from which they're really they emerge, right? So, yeah, again, going back to the ego, I think an ego, when a well-managed home is good. But if all you do is stay in the home, if you never go out, if you never meet people, if you don't go to work, if you don't go out to play, and you just sit in a little corner of your home and you think this is the world, that's destructive. And then, whenever you do meet people and you do ever go out, all you do is talk about your home. That's a problem, my friends. But having the home, that's not the problem. For majority of humans, having that home, having those four walls, having a roof is really good. Having a healthy ego is good. And so having a home is good. So let's not pretend that having homes is bad. Okay? Let's not pretend that having egos is bad. Let's understand that how are we to manage this, right? Very few of us are going to completely forego the home, right? And just go in the wilderness like a Jesus or a Buddha or a Muhammad. In the case of Muhammad, it was a cave. In the case of Jesus, it was the desert. In the case of Buddha, it was the jungle or whatever, the forest. But point is, all these people went. Actually, this is another interesting idea that comes to my mind. We often considered ourselves like selfish, and we think of mystics and prophets and Buddhas and Jesus as selfish. But I think that they're actually the truly selfish people. They went so far deep into the tunnel of the self that at some point they realized that there was no difference between their self and the self. In other words, they realized that even if they built a home, the home is still at the crossroads of eternity and infinity, and building a couple of walls and a roof doesn't really shade you from the truth, right? Although for a lot of us it does, in a way that we would like to think, but to them they just came to that realization, and then from that moment on they were they had crossed in the metaphorical shore, and they were on the other side. And that's not just them; it's pretty much all the mystics. I think that's what happens. That's just my analysis, just a point of view. Take it or leave it. There's one point of view. There's like infinite ones out there, but this is just one. I'm just sharing. And I think what happens is, so, like, these people like Buddhas and Jesus and mystics that go so far and they realize their self is the self, but some of them, like Muhammad, like Buddha, like Jesus, and some other ones, of course, they have the compassion, a strong enough desire that despite having reached the other shore of awakening and realization, they have a deep enough compassionate desire and love for the people that they return. So then they become the Zarathustra, like the allegory of the cave. They come back, but then people don't listen to them, of course, because people have always lived in comfy homes. They don't know what it's like in the forest. They don't know what it's like in the desert. And they're like, what are you talking about? My home's the same as the desert. No, my home's like this. My home's like that. And they're like, okay, that's fine. But here's what happened. But then they realize there's no point in trying to get people to understand. So they start living their life in that way. And in many ways, I think that's the idea of the brotherhood. I think in many ways, I think that's what I get from what Garth and his mission and what the brothers are doing is trying to live that kind of a life in order to kind of tell the world, not tell the world, but like live a life, live the change you want to see in the world. So anyways, thoughts this morning, and just reaching out to the brothers and saying hi. Thank you for listening. Wishing you a lovely day, guys. Bye-bye.